Is this actually working? Why is that doing that? Gonna do a quick refresh. That made it worse. That's not good. That's not good. I don't have my chat. It's just giving me a something went wrong message. Okay, well. Let me try this real quick. If I do this. There we go. There we go. I've got the chat back now. Had that backwards. You were seeing the dull side. So let's try this again. That way. Then. There we are. Hot enough for you. It got, once you factored in humidity, it got basically up to 100 yesterday. It hit about 90 today. So today's better than it was. But yeah. What's on my hand? This was my treat to myself from the Vermont Renaissance Fair this year. I usually allow myself one notable treat when I go, and this was what I got. A little bit of water will help cool things. Brought my queer paper fan too. Oh, good choice, Jennifer. Hope everybody's doing well. A reminder that I will try and keep up with the chat as best I can. However, the one thing that will absolutely guarantee that I am able to see your comment, question, etc., is to do it in the form of a super chat, which will also get you the little gay heart of appreciation. I might see Megan 2.0. Because my kid wants to see it. I didn't see the first one, but second one looks absolutely bonkers. I'd kind of be game for it regardless. No, I have no particular plans to see Elio. I didn't realize that was out. I mean, like, I do now, but like, I realized basically earlier today that it was out. I was like, oh, okay. It is if I say it is, Miss Wicked Wolf. You're going to call me a liar on my own stream? That's rude. Hope everybody is doing okay. And if you are in one of the highly heated areas, I hope that it gets better soon. Gator Rage? Critter? That's a new one. How am I? I'm good. I'm good. I'm warm, but I'm good. Typo. Fair. It was kind of funny, though. Still at work, but I'll leave this running when my appointment comes. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Recovering from bronchitis, pneumonia, at least our IC works well. Oh, goodness. Well, I'm glad you're recovering, Coyote Azul. What are the crown things. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Confused. Strawberry. I'm aware that it's been announced, Ms. Wicked Wolf. I have no particular opinion at this point in time. I'm extremely procrastinating right now. That's usually my job. My tablet is infested with typo demons today. Oh, yep, they get me frequently too. I'm also recovering. I have a knee injury. Oh, bookworm. Well, I hope you take it easy, and I hope it recovers soon. Oh, those things confuse. Yeah, I can't do anything about that. You have to turn those off manually on your end to stop seeing them. I went through this whole thing before trying to figure out if I could get rid of that stuff on my stream. I can't. I can only make it so I personally don't see them anymore, but anyone who hasn't messed with the settings, which are buried, I don't even remember where off the top of my head, they will keep seeing that. Isaac Barrett, thank you very much for the super chat. Will we see Black Mirror season 7 ranked or the seasons? I don't know, because if I'm being honest, the rankings for that haven't done exceptionally well. Like, I would want to put enough work into the ranking that it would kind of have to be a main channel video, except those haven't done great, at least not since the first one that I did. I don't know. I can rank that season for you. I can at least pull up that list of episodes from season 7. I can tell you live on stream. What goes at the bottom? What goes at the bottom? What goes at the bottom? Probably Plaything. Like, Plaything is still good, but out of what we got, I think I'd probably put that at the bottom. And then USS Callister into Infinity. Hotel Reverie, Bet Noir, Common People, and Eulogy. Eulogy was the best one. I do think Eulogy is the best. I'm not sure this had a real full-on blow me away episode. Most seasons do. Like last season, it was Demon 79. Series 5, it's hard to say because that was a season that only had 3. But Striking Vipers I liked a lot. But there wasn't one that really fell down fully either. Like the lowest one that I consider out of that list is Plaything, and even that is still good. Like last season had what was it? Beyond the Sea. Oh, worst episode of the show. Blech. Where'd you get the fan? TikTok shop, actually. It was cheap. I turned my crown chat thing off for me. It's nicer. Yeah, it was ugly, amongst other things, Joel. I could back a Plaything at the bottom. Well, good, because that's where I'm putting it. After you've seen all of the Fifth Doctor's era, do you think you'll do a Why the Fifth Doctor's era doesn't work for me video like you did for the Sixth Doctor? Maybe. I might, except, I mean, in theory, I think I might be able to do that even now because it is the primary factors are I don't feel particularly drawn into any of the relationships he has with companions, and I feel distanced from him as the Doctor. That's my main issue. I suppose I could go through like the various episodes and talk about the mood of the era. That might be a little out of whack, but overall my big issue is just that I have trouble connecting with him, and I already know why. Do you watch the episode synopsis for Black Mirror episodes before watching them? No. There are episode synopses. I didn't realize that was the thing. Yeah, Top Chat is useless. I have to always remember to switch it over myself because it always defaults to that. And I have no idea how it decides what makes some comments more top than others. Like, look, I have no problem with topping or being topped, but you know, I like to know the rules of how it works. That's all. Watch season 1 of Black Mirror with no idea what I was getting into. Oh dear. Episode 1 was good. I thought episode 2 was by far the weakest. Episode 3 was quite good. I don't. So it's interesting with the very first episode of season 1 because that is that's that's the one with the pig, and I think that one was the right first episode to go with because it basically says up front, if you can't handle this, maybe don't watch this show. And then after that, I gotta look up the season again. And so yeah, that first one is it's a big slap in the face. And I think the show kind of needed to start with that. You didn't like 15 Million Merits. That's interesting. I think that's one of the best episodes of the entire show. That first season is solid overall. I actually think National Anthem's the weakest of those first 3, to be completely honest. Nice time, I'm killing time before D&D. Oh, I hope you have a good session. What are you playing as? Finished watching episode 1 and was just there. Shocked at what I watched for like 10 minutes. Yeah, if you don't know what you're getting into, that makes sense. Did you ever watch Freakazoid growing up? I watched a little of Freakazoid in college. Would we consider that growing up? I think those were reruns. I think it was airing when I was in high school. I forget what years that thing was. What is the plot of the Black Mirror series? Yeah, it doesn't have an ongoing plot. Vanessa, it is a series of, it's an anthology show, so it's a series of standalone episodes with new casts. And it is about how technology makes people worse, by and large. That's what it's about. That's not always what it does, but if I were to say there's an overall theme, it's that. Honestly, of the 80s music videos with overt queerness, pretty much any Eurythmics, but especially Sweet Dreams comes to mind. The Eurythmics. Annie Lennox. Tiefling Monk. Somehow I'm the party's tank. It is funny when you end up with character classes that aren't normally that aren't normally used for a certain thing. Like the longest running campaign I was in, we didn't have a tank. We didn't even really have a proper dedicated fighter or magic caster or healer. Like we kind of cobbled together those things, but like it was I was a bard. We had a rogue. We had a monk. We had a homebrew class that the DM came up with called an orator, which is a non-healing support class. And then, dang it, what was? I forget what the last one was. Like we didn't have like a proper dedicated damage dealing class until way later. We had a bunch of glass cannons. Nobody could take proper damage. I ended up being the main distraction thing because my AC was high enough that stuff missed. But it was interesting. I kind of became the jack of all trades. A little bit of healing, a little bit of spell casting, a little bit of melee. So is Black Mirror basically like Twilight Zone? It gets compared to Twilight Zone, Jason. I would say that, first of all, thematically, it's a lot darker consistently. Like Twilight Zone could be dark, but it's not as dark across the board as a lot of people remember it being. And also Twilight Zone was a lot broader in terms of what it would do. Like Twilight Zone would have spiritual episodes. And yes, there'd be aliens, but then there'd be pure supernatural episodes, and there'd be other ones that are like magical realism. And then there'd be more grounded sci-fi. It was kind of all over the shop, whereas Black Mirror is a little bit more focused in on the technology end, and generally not going like really exotic sci-fi, but just like here's a slight advancement of stuff that we kind of have, or at least could conceive of. Just stepped into the Black Mirror. That said, Twilight. More people should go back and actually watch original Twilight Zone, because like it's a cultural touchstone. Not nearly enough people actually go back and watch it. I'm slowly working through it. I'm kind of jumping around. There's a lot I still haven't seen, but that show's real good. The 80s version's pretty good too, actually. That one's kind of forgotten and underappreciated. What's the most you've paid for autographs and photos? I feel like the costs have gotten so high because of autograph trader reselling, and they punish the average fans. I don't know. I've not kept off the top of my head what the costs have been. I mean, photos are my priority. Autographs are secondary. Because like if I have a photo, if I get a photo op with somebody, then like I know I saw them, like there's the evidence. I was in the same room. Ha. Whereas the autograph, like it's a nice extra thing to get. Generally I'll have them sign the picture. But the autograph doesn't matter to me as much. I haven't really been paying attention to those prices because it's not something I do often. I'm waiting to see what photo op opportunities are going to be at Rose City Comic Con, because there's one that I might do depending on how it shakes out. But I'm waiting to see what's actually offered. If you think the effects in The Invisible Enemy were junky, brace yourself for the effects in Underworld. Some folks mention that in the comments on that review. So asking again, who's watching Murderbot? I have not seen it. That's Apple Plus, isn't it? I don't have that anymore. I had it briefly, and I saw both seasons of Severance, and I don't have it anymore. Columbo's the only 20th century show for me. Columbo's good stuff. Like, there's a fair amount of 20th century TV that I do like, but if you're gonna only pick one thing, Columbo's a solid pick. Love the fan. Hello, Vera. Oh, thank you, Purple Raider. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I haven't seen the 2019 one that Jordan Peele hosted, Demi, so I can't speak to that one. Again, I think that's Apple Plus, if I remember correctly. Exactly, Coyote. Just one more thing. That was a good show. Peter Falk was so good in that. As a young queer person, this June has made me truly realize how shallow and ungenuine so many companies who have previously endorsed Pride actually are. And, like, if you didn't already realize that, it's worth remembering. Like, it's worth clarifying from my end. I know that I've said in the past that, like, I'm glad that these massive companies, support Pride and other stuff. I think it's worth pointing out, I never thought it was sincere. And I know I've said that at various points, but let me make it clear. It's a good thing when they support us, because it is a cultural barometer that if they think it is better for their business to support us than to ignore us or demonize us, that is a good sign. And the fact that a lot of them are ditching that is a sign of where the things have swung to. So when I say, things like Disney or Target or whatever, having Pride merch or what have you is a good thing, I don't mean in terms of like, yay, they support us. I mean in terms of like, if they feel safe doing that, that is a good indicator. The fact that they're not doing it, a lot of them now, is a bad indicator. As I kind of view them, at least in terms of this specific thing, as a neutral party. They're like an instrument that I look at and go, where are we at? Oh, you don't feel safe to support us? Okay, so that's where we are right now. But like, they're not actually useful in any practical metric. So like, I understand why some people get upset by rainbow capitalism. I don't, because again, like, I find it useful as a barometer, but like, I don't encourage anyone to actually buy things on the basis of supposed queer support. You know the Twilight Zone episode about the tiny civilization? Do you think it'd be a good idea to do a version of that from their perspective instead of the astronauts? I actually haven't seen that one yet, 255, so I couldn't tell you. I know about it. You didn't spoil anything. That's one of the famous premises, but no, I haven't seen that one yet. Ian McKellen is charging $195 for his photo op, though he's donating to charity. I think the most expensive photo op I did was Tim Curry. I think, because I got like the VIP one where like I actually had like 30 seconds to talk to him, before the picture was taken. So that, I think I paid like $300 for that. But like, also keep in mind, I don't know if it was strictly speaking, his first appearance, but it was the first time he was making appearances again after his stroke. So like, I remember thinking like, I might never get the chance to see him again. So that one, I just paid whatever it took. Other than that, like, because most of the photo ops I've gotten have been at Gallifrey 1, which being a more specialized one not with people who aren't as big as Sir Ian McKellen. Yeah, no, I'm not used to seeing prices quite like that. But again, I don't really get photo ops with people of his size and stature, except for Tim Curry that time. If Doctor Who gets a new streaming partner, which one would you prefer and why? I've been asked this repeatedly. I don't care. I don't. At this point, I do not functionally see the difference. I do not see how anything would differ depending on who the streaming service is. I don't care. I have no preference and I don't care. And I don't mean like I don't care that Doctor Who has a partner to be on streaming. I want Doctor Who to be on streaming. But as far as the specifics go, like they're all just massive corporations with these streaming services, most of which suck. Like, I don't understand why anyone would have a preference, I guess is more my answer to that. What was Tim Curry like? He was lovely. He was absolutely lovely. That was that was a real touching moment. Meeting him. Yeah. Is it that these companies think the culture has turned against queer people, or is it that they're aware those in government have and want to punish support? Under the current administration, probably more the latter. I think if we had a non-Trump type Republican, not as many of them would have turned tail on it. But like, that's still that is kind of Trump's administration forcing the cultural barometer into a bad place, which of course he is. He's a bully. Can't remember the name of the Life on Mars sequel series. Ashes to Ashes. I never saw it, but for some reason I remember that. I never saw Life on Mars either. Have you seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show? I've got a video on here, Nicholas, talking about how much I love that movie and what it means to me. It's an older video, but it's on here. I never thought, these billionaire CEOs really care about it. It's just I didn't think they would all drop the support so bloody quickly. I knew they would. But then again, I'm older and cynical. You had the hope of youth, and It's nice while you've got it. I think it's about which has the best chance of catching an audience. As some streaming services do better than others. If it were on Apple TV, probably nobody would see it. Well, like the thing is, ideally any given service would gauge would adjust their metrics for what they expect the show to do against what their stuff tends to do. So unless they're completely mismanaging it, I wouldn't expect somebody like Amazon Prime or Apple TV to expect more out of Doctor Who than they could reasonably get. I think Disney, I don't know what their actual expectations were. But if they were measuring Doctor Who against, say, the Marvel shows, it was never going to do that kind of numbers. But I wouldn't be shocked if they wanted it to do those kinds of numbers, to do something at least in the ballpark of Star Wars and MCU stuff, and it was never going to. I think preference comes from possibility of these streaming service creating creative control, and some don't. I mean, knowing which ones want some degree of creative control, you'd be guessing. Like, you would just be guessing at that. And I don't like to guess. Thank you, Purple Raider, for the super chat. Much appreciated. One of the things I think you're really strong at as a reviewer is explaining exactly why you feel a certain way about something. But is there anything that you dislike, but just can't explain why? Yeah, sometimes. Usually it comes down to certain personalities or actors that it's just they just don't click with me. I just don't like them. And it's not even necessarily that they're bad actors. I'm just something about you doesn't work for me. That happens sometimes. And then there's other stuff that I guess I've explained to a certain degree, but I feel comfortable just saying I hate cringe. And I don't really feel the need to justify that at this point. I'm not sure I ever have done a full, even self-examination of why I hate cringe. I don't care why, I just do. So when it shows up and stuff, I'm just stop it. So yeah, no, there's definitely stuff that I'm not sure. Off the top of my head, I don't know if there's anything where I couldn't explain why I didn't like it. There are things where I don't feel the need to justify it because I think you're allowed to chalk some things up to taste. It's an older vid, but it checks out. I see what you did there, Haga. Today I saw a trans flag in someone's lawn, even though I'm currently on holiday in a remote Welsh town. Well, that's lovely, 255. Keep having to reload this stupid thing. Don't know why. The likelihood is that Netflix is going to get Who with Straczynski being showrunner. What is that based on, Marine Boy? Netflix, I figure, has as good a shot at carrying it as anybody else. They've carried it before. Where are you getting JMS being the next showrunner? I know he's pitched himself for the job, and I know some people have said he'd be good for it. I think he'd be good for it, but what are you actually basing the idea that it's likely? Where are you getting that from? Do you have a specific definition of cringe, at least for you? Cringe is shorthand for humiliation, particularly humiliation humor. Now, cringe is not always deployed strictly as humor, and it can be justified. My go-to example for justifiable cringe. Hang on, I need to ban somebody. There we go. The thing with cringe, my go-to example for cringe that is absolutely necessary to the story is the episode Nosedive, which is a Black Mirror episode. but it still hurts me to watch. Like, I get secondhand embarrassment really, really, really badly, and I don't find it funny. And it's frequently played for comedy, and sometimes it's just played for discomfort, which I don't really like that either. Did you see Stephen Fry finally called ruling a turf? I did. He also blamed people for supposedly harassing her into it, but he did call her out a little. Yeah, I saw that too, which was disappointing. 255. He's in a better place than he was. It's good. I'm glad he has realized that she is a lost cause on that issue. Oppressed people are not responsible for creating their oppressors, so he can shove that one somewhere. But yeah, it's better than it was. Did they finish filming the final season of Sandman before everything came out? Because they seem to be wrapping up the entire arc in 11 episodes, which sounds like a real mess. I don't know, Rowan, because I did see the trailer and it does look like that. I don't know if I'm going to watch it, but I did watch the trailer because I was curious. My unresearched speculative guess was that they wanted to just do Seasons of Mist for season 2 and then see if they could get a third season. But it might have either been just because the show's so expensive, they said, look, wrap it up in 2 seasons. Or it might have been like, stuff about him is coming out, we need to shift to this and let's wrap it up so we don't end in like a weird cliffhanger situation. It could have gone either way, but yeah, I don't know if I'm going to watch it. Even if I watch it, I'm not going to talk about it. I know you don't play 3D games because of motion sickness, but have you heard of and or have any opinions on the game Detroit Become Human? I have no interest in anything made by David Cage. David Cage can go to hell. So that's the extent of the opinion that I have. All right. I need to hop over to the Discord real quick and check what questions I have there. Reminder, the Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive perk. And let me burn through these questions real quick, and then I'll be back in the main chat. So if you put something up as a super chat, I'll definitely see that when I come back. Otherwise, I probably won't see your questions. How is the rat that you had to take to the vet? Oh, he's just fine. He's got he has a bump on his back that we're going to get removed. So he's fine. It's expensive, but he's fine. Are you enjoying Pride so far? Yeah, pretty well. I haven't done a ton of Pride-related stuff. I hosted a burlesque show. Well, I hosted 2. I hosted a Pride show for Green Mountain Cabaret, and then I hosted kind of a little bit of a newcomer showcase kind of thing this past weekend. But I haven't done a lot of Pride-specific stuff this year. I've been buried in too much of the stuff. The month's almost over. How the hell did that happen? No question, but have a sip of water as you need to stay hydrated in the heat. Oh, cheers. All right. Do you think the frustration with large language models might make sci-fi stories about sympathetic, sentient AI less common? Like, I know ChatGPT and fictional in general AIs like Data or the drones in the culture aren't really all the same thing, but they do go by the same term, which potentially makes them conflatable in people's minds. Like, maybe people won't be as willing to sympathize with fictional entities called AIs if you're having to deal with real-life entities called AIs that seem to be making the world demonstrably worse. Okay, simplifying this as much as I can. No, I don't think it's going to change things very much, because when you're dealing with, like, most AI type characters that we are meant to relate to in our fiction are humanized. And I don't just mean like in terms of the narrative, I mean physically humanized. Data looks like a person. A lot of AI, at least in visual media, will have a visual representation like of a human type body or a hologram projection that looks like a person, which just automatically kind of makes most audiences by default see them as people, not as machines. Like, we understand intellectually, oh, they're machines within the story, but we automatically see them as people because they're played by people and look like people. So things like that would never reason to change. When you start talking about books and stuff like the culture, I think that the difference is so stark. And I also think, especially in terms of the written word, you can get away with just trusting your audience a bit more. Not that I'm saying you can't trust a visual medium audience, but like when you start writing that kind of sci-fi, it's niche enough that ideally if you have found the right audience, they should understand and be okay with it. But yeah, like in terms of visual media, the fact that most of the AIs that we are meant to sympathize with look like people, whereas ChatGPT doesn't look like anything. Like people don't even have a visualization of what that is. And honestly, I think the fact that the droids in Star Wars don't consistently all look like people is one of the major reasons that Star Wars has gotten away with literally having a slave race that nobody is doing anything about for, you know, what are we going on now? 50 plus years? Or coming up on 50 years, I guess? Yeah. Yeah. What would you say if you were just out and about in the world and a total stranger came over and told you you were brave, just like for being visibly trans in public? The other day I was watching Katie Montgomery's YouTube channel. She said that happened to her in a nightclub. It was incredibly awkward. It is awkward. It's awkward and uncomfortable. Don't do that. Don't do that to anyone. Don't say that to trans people. Don't say that to people with visible disabilities. Don't say that to somebody who's heavy, who is wearing skimpier outfits. Don't call us brave for existing. It's condescending. What would I say if that happened to me? Probably nothing, because I wouldn't want to extend the interaction. I'd be like, okay, and just walk away. How do you feel about buying the books of authors who have horrible views but aren't really doing anything to advance those beliefs in the way Rowling is with transphobia? Like there's a alternate history writer I used to read who holds some downright genocidal views about Muslims, but so far as I can tell, he doesn't really do anything about it. Would paying someone like him be less bad than an author like Rowling, who both holds terrible views and tries to push them? Well, yeah. Like somebody who is actively using the wealth that they are granted by the success of their works to push those things, that is always going to be worse. That's why Rowling's worse. That's why Orson Scott Card is worse. That having been said, how would I feel about it? Depends on the specifics of the belief. That kind of falls, if like you can't draw a line to, they are using their money to cause XYZ harm, then it kind of falls under what I tend to refer to as the factor, which is just, for me at least, it just kind of feels gross. I don't want to, I don't have a logistical reason why I'm not interacting with your stuff anymore, other than just, it feels kind of gross to do it. And sometimes that's enough. With details being leaked about the original ending of season 2 of Doctor Who, ending with Poppy staying with Susan instead of Belinda, and Susan allegedly revealing herself to be Poppy's daughter, do you think that would have been more or less controversial than the ending we got? Neither. I think it would have been about as controversial, just for different reasons. It would just be, I think people would be freaking out just as much. Because you have to realize if that's what had happened, it's not like people have gone, well, that's better than what we could have gotten, because they wouldn't know what we actually ended up with. So since you wouldn't have the basis for comparison, I think it would be just as controversial for most audiences, just for different reasons. It would just be less of a what the hell happened and just more of a what are you do, why would you opt to do that? And people would get uppity about lore nonsense again. I like to think it would bother me less. Quite a bit less, actually. I'm not sure I'd like it, but I don't think it would bother me nearly as much. You said before you don't think previous incarnations of the Doctor should star in spin-offs because they would take attention away from the current star. Would you be more forgiving of a previous Doctor being cast in an animated show, such as what looks like might be the case in the recently announced CBeebies spinoff? I mean, especially if it's aimed at a completely different audience. Like, if it's aimed at young kids, sure, whatever, man. I'm not going to watch it either way. With word of Doctor Who being bought out by another streamer, do you have any preference on who that streamer should be? Already addressed this. I don't care. There's a wild rat in your kitchen. What are you gonna do? Well, try for a no-kill trap, and if that doesn't work, we'll do what we have to do because they can't be here. Thankfully, I've never had a wild rat. in my living space. I've had mice. Have had wild mice. Both in Vermont and in New York City. New York City mice are assholes. They walk around like they own the place, little shits. Do you regret your move from mixed... Oh, hold on. Do you ever regret your move from mixed modeled paid job plus social media income to solely relying on the latter? It was somewhat forced. So, okay. So if I'm understanding you, you're asking if I regret not having a standard day job. And, with social media on top of that. Short answer, no. No, I do not regret that move. I do not regret it at all. I mean, keep in mind, the move wasn't my choice at the time. I was laid off. But I do not regret ever not getting another, normal 9 to 5. Zero regrets. The use of the clicker on the podcast has diminished of late. Did Jessie max it out? No, she didn't max it out. I actually, I forgot to unpack it because she's not the only person I use it on. And it got packed for a trip and I kept forgetting to unpack it. So she kept, she would do stuff and be like, I should get the clicker. And then I'd be like, shit, I still forgot to get it. And then ADHD, I'd forget again. So no, she hasn't maxed it out, but I have it down here again now, so it's been unpacked. Do you have any thoughts about the post 9/11 politics of Battlestar Galactica, and does that count as a political question? Sort of. Honestly, it is far less mired in the standard post 9/11 politics than I expected the show to be. Given that it came out it started at least in the first half of the aughts, or whatever we're calling them, and it is based around an inhuman group trying to kill humanity and wanting us all dead and appearing to have a religious motivation and this other stuff. It is leaning into the post 9/11 politics that were common in media way less than I expected, given its premise. Like, you can still feel it there a bit, but it's way less present than I thought it was going to be. At least so far. Why is there a dog with a human face in Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Because it's creepy. If you're asking for the logistical reason, earlier there was a pod that was next to a homeless man with his dog who were sleeping next to each other. And Matthew, who's the main character played by Donald Sutherland, when he goes by, he kicks it. And you kind of see some of the ooze come out of it. Now, he didn't kill... The in-universe explanation is he did not kill that thing. It still created a duplicate, but he damaged it, so it did it wrong. And rather than duplicating the homeless man, it mashed him up with the dog. That's the in-universe reason. The meta reason is because it's creepy and weird. As a Ken Russell appreciator, have you seen The Devil's In? What did you think, if so? I haven't seen that much of Ken Russell stuff yet. I have appreciated what I've seen, but I haven't seen The Devil's yet, so I cannot answer that one. All right, popping on back to the stream. Oh, we have a super chat in from Jay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it greatly. You're an icon, and I love your channel. Aw. I read your book and wondered if you ever thought of turning it into a screenplay. Love your content and all you do. Yeah, if someone would commission me. Like, it's not worth my time to change it into a screenplay if nobody is saying, hey, we want to make it into a TV show, movie, etc. I have no interest in doing it just as an exercise. So yeah, if somebody wants to commission it as a screenplay, I'd be delighted to. But otherwise, no. Have you heard of the game Hero Hours Contract? It's about a group of magical girls form a union against their magic familiars. I had not heard of that, but I love that premise. Oh, that's fantastic. What With video game adaptations being kind of a thing in recent time, do you think any studio has their eyes set on Mass Effect? Or do you think time since the last game, 3 being controversial, etc., it's not likely? It's it's not an in vogue IP. And like we might end up getting some adaptations of stuff that isn't like currently, a hot IP and is a bit more evergreen, but like Mass Effect at this point within the scope of video game history was a bit of a flash in the pan. That's a little cruel because flash in the pan would be more appropriate to something that only had 1, maybe 2 entries. And it did get a trilogy and a spinoff game, but like interest is not there. There is no evidence really of current serious interest in Mass Effect. So I can't imagine anybody shelling out the money because that kind of sci-fi is real expensive. Real expensive. I can't imagine anybody thinks it is big enough to be worth doing that. Who will Doctor Who regenerate into next? I don't know. The Absorbaloff. I don't know, man. Have you ever been to Alberta? Since they apparently have no tolerance for rats. I have not ever been to Alberta. I know some folks out that way, but no, I've never been. Make it a film yourself? No. That's a no, Crunchy. Like, not that I'm like too good to get cardboard props and shoot it with the mates, but like I got that kind of thing out of my system over a decade ago when I filmed like the shorts for when this channel first started. Yeah, no, no interest. I have too much other stuff to do. Which 2 doctors do you think would get along the worst? Ooh. I feel like 12 and 6 would be at each other's throats. If there was a Broadway production of The Wall, would you prefer multiple actors as the characters in the trial, or would you want the actor playing Pink just doing it? Ideally, if you're going full Broadway and Broadway budget, ideally you have highly exaggerated, artistic, abstracted versions of the actors who played the characters in the trial. Kind of like what the movie did with the animated representations of them. And if you wanted, you could still have Pink do the singing, but I think they should be there in an abstracted, more monstrous form because it's a reflection of his view of these people in his life, not a view of reality. So, whether that means doing it as projected animations or doing them as monstrous puppets or what have you, that's what I would say to do. I really wish Jared Leto hadn't been cast as Skeletor in the upcoming He-Man film reboot. A lot of the other cast choices for that sound promising. Until I see a trailer, I'm kind of like, okay, it's a thing they're doing. But yeah, Jared Leto's involvement in anything kind of makes me go, oh. I keep forgetting he's in the new Tron. Ugh. Supreme Omega! Good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. On Disney princesses, how come the 2010s criticism of that these characters, quote unquote, just waited around to be saved by a man existed? Wasn't it unfair criticism? Yeah, it was unfair. It was bad faith criticism. But like the 2010s kind of marked like the takeoff of cynical online critique. And be it in written form or in video form or what have you, it was just kind of an in thing. Like to tear down the stuff from your childhood and go, it actually sucks and here's why. It was just a thing that was hot to do at the time. I think a lot of the people who did it didn't actually buy into it. They just saw the opportunity to capitalize on it. Some of them probably did, but yeah. Ask Jesse to make it a film. Jesse would not be able to secure the budget because, again, high fantasy, much like future and space set sci-fi, is freaking expensive. I see people doing their own picks for the doctors who wouldn't get along well. Jared Leto is still relevant. No, he's not, Ms. Wicked Wolf, but he is still getting work somehow. Ariel and Belle took so much unneeded shade. Yeah, Ariel especially. And like, that movie's not above criticism. My criticism is that she is not at all involved in the defeat of Ursula. That bothers me. And I think there are easy ways to fix that. But it does not require a massive rewrite to do. Who likes Leto at this point? Can't figure that out. Hasn't been good since My So-Called Life. I mean, he keeps getting work because he's been in enough things that have been successful. Like, if you're in a thing that is successful, you will keep getting more work until you are in enough things that bomb that people go, oh, you're not hot anymore. And while he's been in a fair number of bombs, he has lucked his way into a handful of either critically acclaimed or commercially successful things, regrettably. Of all the culture stories you've read so far, so this is Ian M. Banks' book series we're talking about, do you think State of the Art is the one you could most plausibly adapt without breaking the bank? Well, yeah. Yeah, because it's set on Earth. That's always going to make it less expensive. So yeah, strictly financially speaking, that would be the most adaptable. Narratively, like, so here's the trouble in trying to adapt any of these things, because even that would still be expensive, and that is such a low-key personal journey. I think it would be tricky to get the financing for. You could maybe do it. You'd have to you budget that really carefully. If you can keep it under 15 million, maybe you could get it made. But I think narratively, I think use of weapons might adapt most cleanly as a narrative. Like, I know the particular narrative trick that it uses is a bit unusual. I'm not sure that would adapt straight, but I do think you could work the core narrative without fully recreating the dual timeline gimmick. I don't mean gimmick as a derivative. There's nothing wrong with a gimmick. Do a stage play of your book? No. Every time I look at what's happening in the world, I think about what Gwen Cooper said in Torchwood, Children of Earth. Sometimes the Doctor must look at this planet and turn away in shame. Yep. I refuse to see anything with Leto except Dune. I couldn't avoid Dune. Wait, was he in Dune, or are you making a joke because it's Duke Leto in that? I'm trying to figure out if you made a joke or if I missed the fact that he's in those. Okay, you made a joke. I thought you did. Okay. Which performance of In the Flesh is better? Roger Geldof in the original album or Bob Geldof in the film? I think Geldof does it a little bit better. He's a little bit more unhinged, and I think it sells the shift to it, just to him really having hit rock bottom and being his true worst self. I think he sells it a little bit harder, whereas Roger Waters didn't really, other than just the contents of the lyrics, it's not sung particularly differently. Whereas Geldof really kind of went there with it, to really distinguish it as a vocal performance. Did you play Golden Sun on the GBA? No, I wanted to. I never got around to that one. Just got a job interview. Congratulations, Reno. That's great. I thought he was in Dune. Nope. Coyote Azul back again. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Have you heard of / seen Ashley Birch's new YouTube series, I'm Happy You're Here, about mental health? Nope. I don't know who Ashley Birch is. So no, I am unfamiliar. My bad. It was Blade Runner 2049. So you mixed up your Denis Villeneuve movies. Yeah, and he wasn't good in it either. He was one of the weaker parts of it, but he was there. I don't like that movie as much as a lot of people do anyway, but not because it's bad, just because, again, personal taste issue in terms of a specific thing that it did relative to what I like about the original. Dharma, thank you for re-upping the membership. Not the answer to life, the universe, and everything. No, that was me last year. Supreme Omega, back again. Thank you very much. On damsel in distress trope, is the whole princess needed to be saved in another castle inherently sexist? Does it need to be sexist? No, it doesn't. The thing is, like most tropes, the biggest problem was its overuse and its ubiquity. It's not that the trope can't work or that the trope has an inherent built-in badness that you can't get around. It's that it got overused. It was the default. So when a trope becomes the default, then it starts to carry assumptions. And like princess needs to be saved is far less common now. But when it was way more ubiquitous, the reason that it was sexist was not because of each individual instance, but because when that's the default, then the assumption is, of course the girl needs to be saved. Duh. That's just how it is. And that's a sexist assumption that is encouraged by overuse of the trope, even though any given individual instance of the trope may or may not play into it so much. You follow me on that? That's the rule of thumb with most tropes. Very few tropes are innately bad. It's usually about being used too much or being used poorly. Too much is the worst end of it. You ever have EMDR? Doing it later this year. EMDR. What is doing it later this year? What is EMDR? What is EMDR? No, that's not something I've I think I saw some right-wing freaks quoting the last line of Dune movies in reference to Iran. Ugh. I mean, they will always they will always misrepresent media to pretend it supports them. They did it with The Matrix, for crying out loud, and The Matrix is about being trans. And yet they appropriated the red pill. Appropriated the red pill. Appropriated the red pill. Appropriated the red pill. Oh, there's an echo on the stream. Oh, there's an echo on the stream. Oh, there's an echo on the stream. Sorry about the echo. It is about time for me to wrap up anyway. So I am gonna close it out. I won't go through the usual spiel because you won't catch it anyway, thanks to the echo. So you are beautiful. You are valid. You are loved. You are the council. You are loved. You're the council. I'm just running the meetings, and until next time, this council. I'm just running the meetings, and until next time, this council.
McCavity!